Hey guys, this is Red and Blue. Thanks for clicking on this video. I fully realize, I'll say it up front, this probably is not going to be my most popular videos of all times. But it's going to be done. That's why I started this channel, was to talk about PSG, all aspects of PSG, and really help share a bunch more information to English-speaking audiences than typically would get access to. And so today, the big news actually coming out of our women's team. And I know it's a topic that, like lots of people just follow PSG for the men's football team, and that's kind of it. But the reality is that PSG is a much wider team than this. We do have the youth section, which I try to talk about, at least the key players once in a while. We do have other sports. I've talked about basketball and how we might be doing more things there. Judo is a big part. Handball is a big part. And we do have the women's section. And today's big news, we've got a transfer news which is making headlines around the world because our top player, I think it's fair to say, Grace Geyoro, has just left the club for a record-breaking transfer fee, the biggest transfer in the history of women's football around the world. And I think it's just like the latest move in a string of difficulties, I will say. Like, I'm not even sure what the right word would be, to be honest. I'll say difficulties because, our women's team have been like pretty consistently facing trouble for the past few years. And so we get to a point where, literally, like the subtitle says it all, and like what is happening with the PSG's women's team. Just to back out a little bit, 2021, PSG was champion of France at the height of its power, taking on the usual titan of women's football in France and in Europe is Lyon. So really taking on them. And I guess since then, everything went south on us. So after that title, we actually fired our coach that led us to the title. We replaced him with a great coach, Gérard Pressure, who stayed with us for I think a bit less than a season. Then handed things over to his son, Jocelyn Pressure, who was also a great coach. And then progressively, we moved from coach to coach to coach, culminating last year with a guy called Abriel, who blew up the whole thing essentially, and we got to a place where we got kicked out of the Women's Champions League in the eliminatory rounds in September against Juventus, when the year before we were hitting the semi-finals of the Champions League. So huge disappointment. We lost the final of the French Cup to one of our rivals in women's football and in men's football of Paris FC, which was a massive shock and disappointment. And we didn't win the league, which obviously went to Lyon again. And on top of that, there were lots of issues in terms of management of the players, in terms of the coach not getting along with the top players. So Grace Geyoro, who's leaving today, essentially she used to be the captain, but the coach decided at the beginning of the season that he didn't want her to be captain anymore. So he got the armband back from her and gave it to someone else without so much as talking with her. So this is the sort of nonsense that's been going on. And I think on top of it, there's been a lot of question marks for the past few years in terms of what is the strategy of PSG with women's football. Because we do have, the makings of a great team. Obviously, we're PSG, we do have a lot of resources. And I think the way the club has been looking at it is that they want a women's section who can stand on its own 2 feet, who's not dependent on the cash of the club, who's not dependent on the success of the men's team to do anything. And they've essentially been trying to build the women's team through the infrastructure. So giving them access to the campus. They're going to be starting work very shortly on having a dedicated building in the campus for the women's team. The women's team has a staff which has grown because a couple of years ago it was just the coach and really no one else. Now they've got, I think, a staff of 17 people around the team. So coaches, nutritionists, all sorts of support staff around the team. And so they really do have, the infrastructure around them of a very, very big team for the women, but at the same time, the sporting project and the where are we going with this and what do we want to achieve and how do we get, from where we are to challenging Lyon, taking over as the top French team, getting a Women's Champions League in the bag. That thing hasn't really been clear for years now. And yeah, so we've had a lot of instability in terms of coaches. We've had great player after great player who come and then go. And so Grace Geyoro today, we had Katoto, who was also like an absolute headliner, who left. We had Shawinga, who came to replace Katoto, who also left. So it's been really like a string. There were fights and issues within the locker room. So I can't really, like, it would be a 2-hour video, and I know, like, I might already have lost all of the audience just on the topic. But, it's funny. It's in a way funny to me, and like, it's not funny, but it's in a way funny to me because the PSG women's team feels a lot like the chaos that we used to have in PSG in the good old days of completely chaotic PSG, where anything can happen and you can go from, winning the league one day, winning a few French Cups. We made it to the final of the Champions League for a couple of times. So we can actually like produce really good results, but then completely crumble the year after on account of like bad decision making, on account of people not getting along, on account of lack of strategy and vision and kind of long-term approach for this. So this is where we are. Right now, we have a new coach for this season with Paulo César. He's actually Brazilian. He used to play with the men's team like years and years ago. He was a right back, if my memory is right, in the 2000s. So before Qatar came on board, he's a fantastic guy. Everyone say like really good guy. He used to be a coach for the U19 women's side, and so all of the key players in the women's team were actually like pushing for him to become the coach, and trying to get rid of the guy we had last season who didn't really like endear himself to anyone. And so now he's the coach of the first team. It's the beginning of the season. We're very hopeful. There's still a lot of gaps on the teams in terms of positions we need to cover better and so on and so forth. But there's renewed energy around the team, which hopefully bodes well for us this season, even if we will need to see that kind of like consistency develop over time. And, looking at what Luis Enrique has done with the men's side, for example, it's not only about year one, but it's really about how do you build a project and take it from year one to year two to year three and, progress over time and develop that vision that will ultimately deliver the results. But so anyway, what's the news of the day? The news of the day is that our top player, Grace Geyoro, has left us. Like I said, a world record transfer fee, which is going to be funny, but it's 1.4 million pounds, which essentially adds up to 1.6 million euro. Or 1.9 million USD. So really not a lot if you compare with what we get on the men's side. But I think for the women, it is record breaking. She's an incredible player. She's a player who was actually like came out of the PSG academy. So she's really one of us. She's 28 years old now, a midfielder, a very complete and thorough midfielder. And we'll go into the data that you can already start seeing on screen. She's played nearly 270 games for the club, scoring 54 goals. She won 3 French Cups, a French league, twice runner-up of the Champions League. She plays with the French team as well. She played in 2 World Cup, 2 Euros. And she's like literally one of the top players in the world. And for us, I don't even know who would be an equivalent on the men's side. I don't think we had an example in PSG of a young player that comes out of the academy in Paris, takes us to trophies, and becomes one of the best players in the world. I really don't know. typically like players leave before they can become top of the world. So that's kind of the destiny that we hope for Warren Zaire-Emery or Mayulu, but they're not there yet. So maybe it'd be like Steven G leaving Liverpool before getting the Champions League there. So it's just like such a waste and such a heartbreaker. In terms of the players that she's, so like I've got the data. I'll just go very quickly because like I want to give you a sense of, you know, how groundbreaking and earth-shattering of a move this is. So like I said, Grace Geyoro, she's a midfielder. So this is data comparing her versus the midfielders of the top women's league. And so it gives you a sense of, you know, per 90 minutes, what does she do for each category, but also in terms of percentile, how does she compare versus the other midfielders? So the first one, for example, non-penalty goals, it means Grace, on average, she scores 0.3 goals, non-penalty goals per 90 minutes, so per games, and she's 97th in percentile, so she's in the top 3% of midfielders for this particular item. And this is scouting for the last 365 days. So keep in mind, that was an absolutely horrible season for PSG, and one where she absolutely did not get on with her coach at all. So definitely, like, by far not the best year of her career. But you see it straight away. Like, so like the goals are like top notch. Assists are like she's in the top 10%. Non-penalty expected goal plus assisted goal, she's in top 20%. Shot creating actions, 3.65 per 90 minutes. Which is insane for a midfielder. She's in the top 10%. In terms of passing, like this one like really shocked me. The progressive passes and progressive carries, she's essentially in the top 10% of midfielders for both. Progressive passes received, so that is the progressive passes that she's giving that actually like get to the partner, she's in the top 3%. So that's insane. Her defensive stats are not quite as good, even if like there's stuff to pick if you go into more detail. But I think, yeah, if you go like goals scored, she's in the top 2%. Goals plus assists, top 3%. Yellow card, and red card, she basically does not get any. So great discipline as well. Yeah, the progressive carries, progressive passes, honestly, like it's mind-blowing to me. And yeah, ultimately, like passes completion for like short and medium are like really top notch. Pass completion for long passes is great, just doesn't really attempt that many. Passes into the penalty area, she's in the top 10%. So she's really that creative midfielder. She's very well-rounded as a player, but I think for the last year, what we've seen is really like that creative midfielder who can create danger and even like finish from the midfield. So really dangerous by nature. Shot creating actions are mind blown as well. Goal creating action. There's so much details. Yeah, like the fun one I saw. So like defense, the stat is not as great objectively, but the percentage of dribblers tackled. So essentially, that's opposing players who try to dribble her. So 72.7% of them get tackled, and essentially, like she's in the top 1% for just getting the ball back if someone comes at her. So ultimately, like there's not much volume, yeah, because like the other people knew that, and like you see her in front of you, yeah, you turn around or you pass the ball, you just don't go at her because you're gonna lose it. So that's the kind of player we're talking about. There was also like an interesting quote that I've seen from, you know, Jocelyn Pressure was actually her former coach in PSG, and now he's a coach of London City team who's recruited her. And yeah, he describes Geyoro as one of the best, quote unquote, one of the best players on the planet. She has a wonderful career, but she is still underestimated. So imagine with stats like this. I immediately knew it would be such a good opportunity for the club to have such a good player. We have a lot of young and talented players. The signing of a player like her is important for the balance of the squad. She's experienced and knows how I want to play. She knows the game perfectly, so she will help the team a lot and how we want to play. I'm not surprised we had to pay a huge fee to have this sort of player. So this is what we're talking about, really. I think on balance, like it's super disappointing, but at the same time, can you really blame the player given everything that's been happening in PSG? She's been with us for like, yes, in the academy, so probably like, you know, easily like nearly 15 years. And at some point, like, players in their career, like, we're fans of the team, so we pour heart into it, and a lot of players, especially academy kids, do the same. But at the same time, it's her career, and she wants a better environment. She wants more chance at actually getting trophies. She wants to see different things. And we're sadly, we're not in a position to really offer that. So she's leaving. Yeah, we can only say thank you for everything that she's done with PSG. Wish her all the best. Hope that, you know, this transfer window is over, so we're just gonna have to do with the players that we have. Yeah, hope that the good early signs that we've seen out of the team under Paulo César actually confirm that we do well this season, and that, you know, we continue building the infrastructure around the team, we continue developing the players that we have, and we develop a project that can take us to the highest reaches of the game. It's really what we can hope for this team. And sadly, it's not going to be with Grace. It will be with other players. And yeah, we'll keep you posted on that. So yeah, Geyoro out. I think that's the news of the day. So thanks so much for watching. If you made it all the way, thanks. Once again, like, I know this is probably not going to be the most popular of topics, but I felt it was important to cover, important to just like bring you guys up to speed if you didn't have all of that background. Hopefully, you know, we can have a little bit following for the women's team. Honestly, like, I just want them to win trophy because they deserve it, and like, it's still PSG, so we should be winning, whether that's men, women, other sports. I don't care. I want to be winning, and those girls deserve it as well. So for now, thanks again for watching. Please drop a like on this video. If you've made it this far and you thought the topic was interesting, drop a comment to let me know what you think of the Geyoro move. Biggest transfer in history, but it's on the way out of PSG, so it's, yeah, pretty sad to me. And then, like, please subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and we'll be back tomorrow for more PSG content. And don't forget, with the women as well as the men, ici c'est Paris!